What is up, YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. Now, I hope you guys got an opportunity to take a look at the 11th Democratic debate last night. It was absolutely insane. It was supposed to be a moderated debate, but it didn't really seem like it. We saw Mayor Pete constantly trying to throw his hand up to get his little one-liners in. It was really interesting. I think Andrew Yang probably would have won this particular debate if he had participated, because the one thing that was different in this debate than I can't talk. I just had water. The biggest thing that was different about this debate than the other debates is that they left the mics on, so you could hear every other candidate talking smack in between the responses for the others. There wasn't really that typical respect of someone else's time. You saw Joe Biden constantly coming out there, hey, I wrote that bill, I did this, I did that, Barack Obama did that, but I did this. And then he keeps saying, hey, why does everybody else keep cutting themselves off? No one else is doing it. I should probably just keep talking. Yes. So it was just a really, really interesting debate. But overall, last night was a huge loss for the American people who identify themselves as Democrats, the Democratic Party in general. And if you were there for more than like the entertainment value, I'm sorry, because it was a waste of your time. So I'm going to be doing obviously a series of videos on the debate, but we're going to start by talking about Elizabeth Warren's ineffective. I love you too, buddy. We're going to start by talking about Elizabeth Warren's ineffective attempts to bully Mike Bloomberg. Now, we've been talking about Elizabeth Warren. She's got this revitalized energy coming to her campaign. And, you know, I gotta admit it, I kind of like it. You know, this Elizabeth, yeah, you're fine, buddy. If this Elizabeth Warren had showed up earlier on, we might have a completely different conversation. Bernie Sanders might have been split in the vote. We might have had a, 3 or 4-way split. But instead, she kind of went, at some point she had that miscommunication with the people when she was supposed to reveal how she was planning on paying for her health care and her wealth tax rollout. Those things, I believe, kind of derailed her campaign, where she was surging at one point. She started to flatline around 15, between 12 and 15%. And she really never caught that same momentum back up. And since then, Sanders has been kind of run away with the nomination. And that's what, it is what it is right now. We see that the moderate side of the aisle, or the moderate side of the party, is pretty much split amongst Biden, Warren, Pete, sometimes Klobuchar, you know what I mean, just depending on the day of the week. And it's just enough to make it so Bernie Sanders has a pretty easy path to victory. So last night, he was obviously going to be the likely target. They went straight at him. I mean, literally from the very first question. Let me grab my notes. I mean, literally the first question was Bernie calls out Bloomberg on the first question, and Bloomberg immediately responds back saying that, well, Russia wants Bernie to be the nominee so that he can get smashed by Donald Trump. And it was just like, wow, they went right into it. And it was that the entire night. I mean, again, second most entertaining debate since the last one. This one was pretty good, but it was a little bit messier. More than TPs gets a wealth tax. Yeah. You know what? Before this video is over, we're going to be talking about Elizabeth Warren and her TPs. Now, so I'm going to just show you guys a clip. There's a couple of clips I have. They're really short. The first one is Elizabeth Warren. Again, my feelings on this is that she felt like a bully last night. Now, I will say that she had a good performance, and we'll talk about why I don't think she won. It was a good performance. I don't think she won, but I also feel like she kind of came off like a bully, because Bloomberg was pretty effective in the way he responded to Elizabeth Warren's attacks last night. And it's simply because he's kind of done what she said. He's really kind of following the rules. But Warren was definitely trying to establish herself as the progressive who can actually get things done, as we're now looking at Bernie Sanders as the crazy progressive who nobody wants to work with and nobody likes, and is a nightmare for down ballot Democrats. So first clip, Elizabeth Warren taking on Mike Bloomberg regarding his NDAs. Let me make this a little bit bigger for you guys.
Mr. Vice President?
I was mentioned in this.
No.
I'd like to respond.
Go ahead, Senator.
He called me out by name in this
Okay.
and referred to what I talk about as a sideshow. You know, this is personal for me. When I was 21 years old, I got my first job as a special education teacher. I loved that job. And by the end of the first year, I was visibly pregnant. The principal wished me luck and gave my job to someone else. Pregnancy discrimination, you bet. But I was 21 years old, I didn't have a union to protect me, and I didn't have any federal law on my side. So I packed up my stuff and I went home. At least I didn't have a boss who said to me, kill it, the way that Mayor Bloomberg
never
alleged
said
to
that.
have said to one of his pregnant employees. People want a chance to hear. People want a chance to hear from the women who
I never said that.
I want to allow the mayor
for the
an
record, if
opportunity
she was a
respond.
teacher in New York City, she would never have had that problem. We treated our teachers the right way, and the unions will tell you exactly that.
Well, Mayor Bloomberg, Senator Warren has raised...
Let us have the women have an opportunity to speak. The Bloomberg corporations and Mayor Bloomberg himself have been accused of discrimination. They are bound by non-disclosures so that they cannot speak. If he says there is nothing to hide here, then sign a blanket release and let those women speak out so that they can tell their stories the way I can tell my story without having to fear that we're going to be sued by a billionaire.
Thank you. We have a number of issues discussed tonight, but I want to give the mayor an opportunity to respond because she has raised concerns about women in your workplace. At the last debate, you said some of your female employees might not have liked some of your jokes. Did these women take your jokes wrong, or were you wrong to make the jokes?
Probably wrong to make the jokes. I don't remember what they were, so I assume if it bothered them, I was wrong, and I apologize. I'm sorry for that. But what happened here is we went back 40 years, and we could only find 3 cases where women said they were uncomfortable. Nobody accused me of doing anything other than just making a comment or two. And what the senator did suggest was that we release these women from the non-disclosure agreement. I did that 2 days later, and my company has said we will not use non-disclosure agreements ever again. The senator has got it, and I don't know what else she wants us to do.
I'll be clear.
We're following exactly what she asked to do.
Tell you exactly
and the
what I
trouble
want you to
is, with this senator, enough is never enough for what this... I'm going to start focusing on some of these other things. We just cannot continue to relitigate this every time. We did what she asked. And thank you. We've probably made the world better because of it. And by my company renouncing using these, we probably changed, hopefully, the corporate landscape all across America.
But if you get nominated, we'll be relitigating this all year.
Okay, so at the end of that clip, you probably heard Mayor Pete. If you get nominated, we'll be relitigating this all year. This is exactly what I was talking about. You could hear Mayor Pete audibly over probably 5 or 6 different exchanges trying to throw in his one-liners. You know, he made a couple of comments where he's like, Bernie Sanders, Medicare for all, it's not going to fly in Denmark, the country, and it's not going to fly in Denmark, South Carolina. And then he said the same thing about South Bend, South Bend, Indiana, or South Dakota. He keeps doing this thing where he's got his pre-rehearsed lines, and someone told me to take a look at the Tucker Carlson piece regarding Lego Man Pete, and I watched that, and I totally understand who this Pete character is, because he's just that. He is a character. He is somebody who was designed by the establishment. They said, what do we need in order to have a super politician? Well, he's got to be young, and he's got to be charismatic, and he's got to have military service. He's got to have a LGBT thing going on, and he's got to be this, and he's got to come from a small city. Like, they picked them all out, and that's really what we see. Like, he seems incredibly inauthentic. He seems completely disconnected. That's why you see he doesn't resonate with voters of color. But for that liberal white working class, he seems to do okay. That upper class, you know, he's got the 7 languages that he speaks. I mean, he's an impressive guy, but at the end of the day, you know, he just doesn't seem authentic. And we really saw a lot of that rehearsed lines, you know, prepackaged insults. We saw a lot of that. It kind of reminded me of Kamala Harris, you know, going back. She had a lot of those moments where she had these zingers that she just couldn't wait to whip out in the debates, and they often fell flat. And that's what we saw with Pete last night. Now again, I started this piece talking about how Warren came off as a bully last night, because this is exactly what I'm talking about. You see how Bloomberg, I felt like his defense was pretty fair. You know, he said that he released 3 of those women from NDAs, which he actually did last Thursday. We have a statement here, well, not a statement, but he said he would free 3 women from confidentiality agreements that bar them from speaking publicly about sexual harassment and discrimination suits filed against them. Against him over the last 3 decades. He also said the Bloomberg LP will no longer use such agreements to resolve claims of sexual harassment or misconduct going forward. And his personal statement was, I recognize that NDAs, particularly when used in the context of sexual harassment and sexual assault, promote a culture of silence in the workplace and contribute to a culture of women not feeling safe or supported. It continued. Warren, of course, responded back that wasn't good enough. If there's only 3, then why not sign a blanket release? And then you mentioned the part about this particular woman who had said something about, or who Bloomberg is alleged to have said for her to kill it, referring to her aborting her, well, she was pregnant at the time, her baby. Yeah, but I mean, what I saw that was problematic with Warren last night is that she was trying to establish herself as the pragmatic progressive, but at the same time, she was also coming off incredibly unreasonable when Bloomberg would point out things like this, where he's like, well, I've done what you said to do. The next piece we're going to look at is regarding his taxes, where he says, look, I'm following the rules of the party. I just joined this thing. And again, you know that President Trump has not released his tax returns. And here we are 3 years into his into his presidency. And these aren't deal breakers for Donald Trump. Like, that's the problem. Nothing that Warren is doing is going to penetrate because Donald Trump is already president. This is the whole Hillary Clinton going back to say that our kids can't have a madman in the White House. He's setting a bad example. Well, yeah, except for the people kind of like the madman in the White House. So maybe you should stop insulting him and like just try to give people like a better vision, offer some new ideas, offer, a fresh perspective. And she's just not doing that. Which is why this latest round of attacks that she's come up with, her new position of the pragmatic progressive would have been good months ago, but she waited until now, where everybody is now attacking Bernie for being the person that no one is going to be able to work with going forward. Bad timing for her. Now, interestingly, she goes back to talking about her potentially. I don't want to say it's a lie, but people have kind of done the math on this, and they said that the timeline does not quite match up regarding her pregnancy and her being let go from her teaching job. So that has resurfaced, and then the real issue is that she's attacking Bloomberg instead of Bernie. You know what I mean? Now, I understand why she's not attacking Bernie. Most likely, Bernie's her only ticket to the White House. He's the only progressive there. But the thing is, you're not going to take Bernie's seat. Bernie has already established himself. He has a core fan base. There's no reason for them to leave him, especially when he's winning. Like, as much trash as I talk about Bernie, like he's winning, okay? He's winning. I'm not going to go down the street where I start saying crazy things about, oh, no, he's going to lose. No, they might steal this nomination from him, but he's very clearly on the path to victory. So there's no reason for anyone to decide, oh, I'm going to go with Bernie because I was voting for Bernie because I like his ideas, but now I need them to be pragmatic. People who are voting for Bernie don't care about pragmatism. They're not worried about the ideas being realistic. They're voting for him on ideology. They believe that he believes in what he says, and they believe that he's the only way to get to where they want to go. So there's no reason for them to decide to go to Elizabeth Warren. Like, it's kind of a silly strategy, at this particular point. Now, the next piece, again, she's bullying him. She's bullying him, like I said. And that's why it's just, she's just bullying him. But it's like, you can see the blood, like, in her eyes. Like, she's really happy about Bloomberg. She was really happy to bring back that attack about her pregnancy. Like, she had a reason, because, Bloomberg, going back to, telling a woman to abort her baby, it's like, that fits my narrative perfectly. So, let's pull up the second clip. It's only 1 minute. This is Warren attacking Bloomberg for his taxes.
Warren, same question. Would you allow Chinese firms to build infrastructure?
We have to be able to trust our president. because there are a lot of decisions a president makes that you just can't follow every part of that. And that's one of the reasons that we need to see any candidate's taxes. We know that Mayor Bloomberg has been doing business with China for a long time, and he is the only one on this stage who has not released his taxes. He plans to release them after Super Tuesday. It is not enough to be able to say, just trust me on this. We have a president who said he was going to release his taxes after the election and has refused to do this. No, I would not.
Okay. Mayor Bloomberg, would you like to respond?
I got into this race only 10 or 12 weeks ago. We've been working on our tax returns. I've said they'll be out. We probably have another couple of weeks left to go. We're doing it as fast as we can. We've complied with every single requirement for disclosure. And when I was mayor of New York, we had our tax returns out 12 years in a row, and we will do that in the White House.
So, do you see what I mean when I say she's being unreasonable? Like, we get it. We get it. We get what you're trying to say about him. Like, and that's cool. Like, I'm all about that. The problem is when the guy says, well, I did exactly what you asked me to do. Like, what do you want me to do? Like, I should tar and feather myself because it doesn't, so you can be president? Like, no, he's done what he's supposed to do. He's followed the rules. Now, I understand you don't like the rules, but this is the problem with being a part of the party. If you're a part of this establishment, this is what you got to deal with. This is all nonsense. But that's why I said the party is the loser for last night. But let's talk about his statement about the taxes. Well, before we get into that, though, did you guys hear those audible groans from the crowd? Like, what was that? I think this is the first debate where I heard, like, boos. I actually heard boos coming from the crowd, and it just seemed extremely off. Now, The Hill ran a piece this morning talking about how the tickets for this event were like $1,700, and this is a high donor. You had to be like a VIP in order to really get tickets for this thing, and that's fine. Well, it's not fine, but it is what it is. But it's just extremely strange that for the first time we had people booing other candidates. And it was just oddly timed. You know what I mean? Like, and then in Warren's case, I actually thought those were actually legitimate because I think a logical person would just be like, look, lady, what do you want him to do? But there were some other ones in there where it just did not seem right. That audience, it definitely seemed like there was some fake crowd noise going on. Some people who were paid to go in there and be real extra. He was a reporter at WNYC, New York's largest public radio station. And he recalls his time working in New York, and he doesn't ever remember hearing about Mike Bloomberg actually releasing his tax returns. And there's a couple of statements to substantiate his claims, but I just want to let you know that, as far as what we have available, this seems like to be an unfounded statement that Mike Bloomberg is consistently using. I don't know why. I mean, obviously this is very easily verifiable, but this is this one journalist, his recalling of the events. He specifically asked Mike Bloomberg in 2012, he was working at an Occupy Wall Street inspired investigation on how the uber rich like Bloomberg structured their global wealth machines. Question: why won't you disclose what you physically pay in terms of federal taxes? Bloomberg: there's no reason to. We have categories, and I have a personal life. The accountants will tell you I pay 100% of my taxes. I don't have tax shelters in the context you would talk about. I pay what I'm supposed to pay. We earn money all around the world. Now, of course, the question is that whether or not Bloomberg has these really deep ties to China, and why that might affect the way he would, engage in diplomacy with China. Of course, in the last debate, he had that statement about, hey, I can't just go to TurboTax. You know what I mean? I got thousands of pages of tax returns, and it's going to take a little bit of time. And again, I feel like he responded to Warren, legitimately. I mean, he's an incredibly rich guy. I imagine that if he would actually take those women off of NDA within like 3 or 4 days of the last debate, of course, I'm probably assuming he greased him a little bit first, but nonetheless, he actually took him off of NDA. I assume this is going to be taken care of fairly quickly. Again, he has almost as much money as God. So this shouldn't be too difficult for him to pull off. Senator Klobuchar says, Mayor, I think it's a major issue because the president of the United States has been hiding his tax returns, even when courts order him to come forward with those returns, she said. And I don't care how much money anyone has. I think it's great you've got a lot of money, but I think you've got to come forward with your tax returns. Biden said something about it. Just a lot of everyone jumping in on Mini Mike, but these are not things that I think really matter. Like, I understand why they should matter, but I just feel like the American people are kind of beyond this. We've had Trump long enough to not think that this is really going to make that much of a difference. We're more interested in your character than your tax returns. This is going back to the journalist. Part of my beat at WNYC was attending the annual financial fan dance that conducted by Bloomberg's press security Stu Lesser at the office of the mayor's accountants Geller and Company on 3rd Avenue. In point of fact, all reporters would see was a heavily redacted tax return. Buddy? In point of fact, all reporters would see was a heavily redacted tax return where dollar amounts were substituted with letters of the alphabet to reflect bands of value. We could not make copies. What we got to take home was to pursue at our leisure was Bloomberg's annual New York City Conflict of Interest Board disclosure, which required he list the companies he owned or in which he held a financial interest. What I noticed was that over the arc of his tenure as mayor from 2002 to 2013, the number of companies listed went from 40 to more than 80 and included entities domiciled in Bermuda, the Cayman Islands, and Delaware. So, again, this is just one journalist's interpretation. He can't seem to find anything substantial, but if you go look in the media, you're probably not going to find anything, because I couldn't find anything either. But it looks like this gentleman also said he took the information that he did have to Jeffrey Sachs, the author of The Prince of Civilization. Sachs told me the great wealth and corporations had leveraged globalization, or that great wealth and corporations had leveraged globalization in a way that put them beyond the reach of individual governments, and that capital on the scale we were talking about actually could play governments off of each other. These fortunes had, in essence, subjugated the Earth's nations in a form of 21st century empire that would define all of our lives. Obviously, we have a pretty good idea that when you're incredibly rich, you can, make things happen a little bit quicker than the average person. We actually heard Bloomberg say that, he contributed to like 40 different Democrats. He contributed $150 million into 40 different Democrats to get them elected. And he had the Freudian slip of saying that he bought them their position. But this is what we accept in our democracy. These are not things that I think really, really matter. Can he beat Trump? What are his policies like? What's his character? We're not really getting these things from these attacks from from Warren. And again, this is going to be the end of the line for Warren. Unfortunately, like I said, she's really come to life in the last 2 weeks, but it's a little bit too little, too late. There are a lot of people. Mike Check says, I don't know about that. There are a lot of people that look into each other's candidates that don't look into each candidate's policies. I think Yang Gang are more policy oriented than others. Last night was every candidate trying to decide where they are. Basically it was, where are you in relation to Bernie, right? I think we all really got that fairly clearly if you saw this. It was Bernie, he's winning, he's way out there, he's far left. And then you would have Biden, he's like, hey, I'm the complete opposite of Bernie. Bernie's crazy, I'm sane. And then you had Warren say, hey, hold on, Tom Steyer, progressive ideas aren't the problem. It's not being a team player. It's not working with people. It's not being pragmatic. So she aligned herself with Bernie while being Bernie light, Bernie with friends. You know what I mean? She's the acceptable version of progressive. And then you got Pete smack dab in the middle, Klobuchar a little bit further to the right of Buttigieg, and also Experience. Like, they all had their lanes, but again, none of these people have given us a reason to choose them over the person who's already winning. I mean, you're not galvanizing. You're not taking support from Bernie, right? So are you taking support from each other? That doesn't really move the needle. Someone needs to drop. That's been the case. We've been saying this for weeks, and we came into another debate last night, and no one did that. So we're going nowhere, man. Just get ready for, I guess Tuesday. Get ready for Tuesday. We'll see what happens. Biden was asked if he's going to drop if he doesn't win South Carolina. He said, I'm going to win South Carolina. So it's like, dope, man. Like he says he's gonna win. I will say this. I couldn't even. I was trying to write all these down. I will say personally, I feel like Biden did fantastic last night for Biden. You know, he definitely had his little gaffes there, but Biden turned into that likable guy again. You know, he had these funny moments. He just kept saying, what was the one? I only have one of them written down. Let me see this, 130.02. Because he had so many.
Look, if you want to keep the House in Democratic hands, you might want to check.
They, in fact, went on and he said after he knew that, he bought it, and then he said he was proud of his accomplishment. You talk about what we're talking about with Bernie. Bernie, in fact, hasn't passed much of anything. The fact of the matter is...
But I get to answer I get to answer that.
Look, the fact is, here's the deal. I'm not out of time. You spoke over time, and I'm going to talk. Here's the deal.
That's my guy.
Here's the deal. The fact of the matter is, you look at what's happening here. Look at what's happening here. We have to win the Senate back. And by the way, I went into all of those races that got 41 new Democrats. The majority of them are supporting me for president.
And Mr. Vice President.
Biden was feeling it, man. I mean, listen, it's Biden. Let's realistic expectations. As long as he doesn't have some major gaffe, as long as he shows up, he looks active, he looks spry, he looks like he's engaged. He's not sleepy Joe Biden last night. I was proud of him. You know what I mean? And again, he was funny. He was likable. Like being likable is important. You know, he didn't impress. I said for Biden. I didn't say he impressed me for anybody. But I totally feel you. But yeah, Bernie just toed the line. A very easy victory for Bernie. They tried to attack him. Nobody landed anything. There was nothing you were going to say about Bernie that we didn't really already know, I feel like, at this point. And you're not going to shame people into not voting for Bernie. The people who are voting for Bernie don't care about your shame. In fact, they probably hate your guts. I'm just letting you know this. I don't know if you figured that out yet, but it's going to be real hard for Joe Biden to pull some Bernie supporters. So I don't understand what he thought was happening here. You wish Pete would have shut up and let Bernie answer his usual non-answers. Pete had his zingers chambered, man. Pete had those zingers chambered. He was not trying to miss any opportunities. He just didn't get a chance to really let them go. So here's a piece from Politico. This pretty much just sums up everything that I felt about the debate. I'm not going to go through this whole thing, but again, I cite my sources. But this is their statement on Warren. Warren took advantage of the debate to revisit her greatest hits, not just "I've Got a Plan" and "My Three Brothers in the Military," but also her takedown of Bloomberg in Las Vegas, which generated its own sequel in Charleston. Warren toys with Bloomberg like a cat with a mouse, and instead of effectively defending himself, he comes off as defensive. Bloomberg's overall tone deafness is staggering, as evidenced in the weird joke he made about having won the previous debate. A quip so odd that it eluded even those in the live audience whom Bloomberg had seemingly paid to cheer. Another problem for the former mayor, the Bloomberg, who voters were watching on the debate stage, could not hold a candle to the Bloomberg who kept popping up during commercial breaks. The two mics may as well have been different people. That was my impression of even the last debate. The person who's live tweeting for Mike Bloomberg is phenomenal. The problem is real Mike Bloomberg has no. He's a turtle. Like, I don't know how to describe him. Like, he's boring. He's got no presence. He's not believable. He seems like he doesn't care about everything. Bloomberg, again, he's just not it, man. He probably would have had a really good shot if he could just like put a TV screen in front of his face and run those ads. But when you see him out in real life, and again, I think if he's on script, he's okay. It's just when he has to go off script and actually answer questions, like in a back-to-back, incredibly unnatural. And then he also gives this look like, why would I have to answer to you? Do you understand who I am? Like, I can buy you. I should not have to answer your questions. And it's hard for him to not come off like that, but he comes off like that, man. He just comes off like he is disgusted by having to answer questions to regular people. He is odd. When I heard that he was womanizing women, I just thought, like, what? That guy? That same guy? We talking about? Okay, all right. Maybe he was a different person back then. But yeah, they kind of summarized this debate as the debate changed nothing, because it didn't. Nobody left this debate saying, you know what? I was thinking about Mayor Pete, but I'm going over to Bernie, or I was thinking about Warren, but now I'm going over to Joe Biden. Like, no, these people are already aligned where they are, and other people are undecided. And I don't think this is going to make more people want to engage in actually going out and participating in the political process. I feel like voter turnout is going to be relatively low. I think Bernie's going to do well in his 28 to 35 demo, but that's going to be it. I don't think most people were really moved by what we saw last night. I mean, I think, again, I say that the debates are a slam dunk contest. I feel like it was a lot of that. It was a lot of missed dunks, a lot of highlight attempts, but absolutely no substance going out there. And this thing was 2 hours of people arguing. At a certain point, I just wanted them to just put on some gloves and just go slug it out, because what's the point? Like, why are we having this verbal thing? Like, let's go punch each other in the face a little bit. Let's fight for the actual nomination like we should. He says whatever. You said nothing matters to Bernie. Well, but again, that's why none of this matters to Bernie supporters. These are not reasons to abandon Bernie now, because you weren't supporting Bernie because he made the most sense. You were supporting Bernie because you identify with his ideology and you like his views. That's it. You don't care if he can't make Medicare for all pass. You don't care if he's going to be a disaster for other Democrats. That doesn't matter to you. You want Bernie to be president. And that's fine. Again, I applaud and respect the hell out of what Bernie Sanders has managed to be able to do. He is the blueprint for anybody who is trying to establish a political force. But now we're going to see what happens when that force meets opposition. And I don't think it's going to be pretty. But it doesn't mean he hasn't done an amazing job. I actually did see someone write a piece. I was probably going to cover this, but I did see someone write a piece about Klobuchar saying she's definitely going to the White House as a potential VP pick. I don't know if that was written after last night's debate, but, again, I feel like Klobuchar is always solid. Some people say she has no substance, but I don't know, man. I feel like if you really look through her policies, she's accomplished. I mean, she's passed over 100 bills, and she's actually has a plan if she gets into the White House, and she has friends, and she's worked with both sides. I mean, like, the fact that she knows, like, the down ballot Republicans and Democrats, and she has relationships like that matters too, because, again, a lot of this conversation we're having is so insular. We don't even talk about Republican response. Like, this is just who's gonna win the Democrat primary. You have to win the White House for this to even matter. He should be clutching his Bible. And of course, Mayor Pete was gay again last night. Every once in a while, he's gay. He tries to pull it out on you real quick. He picks and chooses, man. But yeah, he just didn't do it for me last night. They're probably going after the undecided vote. Yeah, but I feel like the undecided vote is going to stay home because they're not giving me a reason to vote. Like, none of these people motivate me. Like, that's what you need. You need a candidate that motivates people. Donald Trump motivated people. Barack Obama motivated people. Bernie Sanders is motivating people. It's a special kind of person, but he's motivating those people. They're very mobilized. They're organized. They put money up. They're doing the thing. But the other guys, they're just standard Democrats. Like, they're standard Democrats. They have decent ideas. And you know what? Again, I'll give them credit. Bernie Sanders has pulled people so far left, and when I say so far left, like, they've pretty much everyone has identified or has co-opted some portion of his platform that even the moderate is raising minimum wage. Even the moderate is offering you some type of Affordable Care Act modifications to get us to some version of a single payer. It's just, I don't know. Like I said, Bernie's done a fantastic job, so I don't mean to take anything away from him. I think he's insane, but he has definitely done a good job of accomplishing what he was trying to accomplish. But now he's got to try to get in office, and now at first he's got to beat Donald Trump. I'm not so sure about that. If no one drops out, Bernie will be the nominee. Well, the only way Bernie's not going to be the nominee is if the DNC steals it. Like there's no way to stop him. He is unstoppable right now. So we'll see, man. So I'll wrap this video up by taking over this piece in Politico. I want to throw this out there. Warren is so unlikable. Like Klobuchar is a likable woman. She's a sane person. She's not the crazy left. I don't say crazy left. Like she's not the super progressive. So I think people can really get behind her. But Warren just seems so inauthentic, and it's odd because if you go back to January, there was a piece I think done in Politico, and they were talking about how a lot of these candidates are pretty much broke. And part of what they said about Elizabeth Warren is that in order to even make it through Iowa, she had to take out a $5 million line of credit, and $400,000 of that was supposed to be immediately used to help her get through the Iowa caucus. And she had a solid performance in the debate, and I guess they didn't need that money after all. But I think that would make her seem likable. Like, hey, I'm so passionate about winning this race that I'm willing to go out and do something non-traditional, like go out and get a line of credit because I believe I should be here. I believe I'm fighting for a cause. But instead, she defaults to, my mama and my daddy. My mama and my daddy who did all of this, and my daddy said we're gonna have to move, and it's just like, yo, just keep it funky. Like, yo, it's hard, it's expensive, and there's a billionaire out here who's spending all this money on ads, so I gotta do what I gotta do. Hey, dog, can you stop, please? Because she lies. Yo, the lady who I met, one of the women who I met at the Amy Klobuchar event, actually, and I have to find this thing, but basically what she did was she pulled up Elizabeth Warren's dad's or parents' house that she grew up in. She pulled that house up on property records because, Elizabeth Warren always tells that sad story about, how she came up and she was just trying to figure it out. But no. She pulled the actual house up in Oklahoma property records. She found the value. She found that her parents paid 2 times the value of that house. That house was not the standards that she places on the house in her stories is often by modern standard. It's not Oklahoma standard, and it's not standard for the time. She talked about her school district. Like, she just made a really compelling argument that makes Elizabeth Warren's entire story seem incredibly fabricated. I'll have to find the post, but she did the homework for me, and I was like, man, I need to make this video so I can go viral. But if Warren starts doing well, I might drop that one. But Amy brings good substance with a good arguments most of the time. Yeah, man, she's weird. Amy K. My mama and my daddy. Bad luck when you're 7 years. Exactly. It's not like my mama and my daddy. Like, come on, don't talk like that. Do you talk like that? Do you really talk like that? I don't think she talks like that. I think someone told her that would be a good idea for politics because you're from Oklahoma, and that sounds like that's not how people talk. Nobody talks like that. But I wanted to throw this out there because I don't know if you guys even saw this, but miraculously, Bloomberg publishes today, Native Americans ask Warren to fully retract ancestry claims. More than 200 members of the Cherokee Nation and other tribes sent a letter to the Democratic presidential candidate Elizabeth Warren on Wednesday, asking her to more fully recant her past claims of Native American ancestry. For Native Americans, this moment is more than an annoyance. It represents the most public debate about our identity in a generation. The letter read, "Whatever your intentions, your actions have normalized white people claiming to be Native and perpetuated a dangerous misunderstanding of tribal sovereignty." Now, to be fair, I did see this piece run elsewhere, but that's what happens, man. You attack Bloomberg in the debate, and he's got something for you in the media coming tomorrow. Must be nice to be a billionaire. Again, Bloomberg, my vote is for sale. I can put a nice banner at the bottom of the thing. I can put a donate mic, whatever you need. Just hit up the kid. I got you. I mean, no one's going to vote for you anyway. I have no problem doing whatever you need me to do to help you get 2 or 3 individual votes. Break off the audience too. There's no reason we should just keep this thing local. Like, just offer to buy the votes. She is. Dog, can you please stop? My goodness. So we're going to end this thing off with this BuzzFeed news piece. With her campaign on the brink, Elizabeth Warren is suddenly fighting back. Not much here that I'm really interested in. We covered the BuzzFeed. Yeah, they said that this Elizabeth Warren that we're seeing here the last 2 weeks has largely been absent from her 14-month-old presidential campaign. It's come out in full force. Voters have seen Warren tear into her opponents on the debate stage politely, but a little ruthlessly, with laser-like precision. They watched her dispense with her usual folksy introduction before a crowd of 7,000 in Seattle. I thought I'd tell you a little bit about myself, to launch instead into a new condemnation of the big threat posed by Michael Bloomberg. Not a tall one, but a big one, she said. And on Tuesday night, they heard Warren voice something she has long lived, but never before laid out explicitly or publicly. I think I would make a better president than Bernie. Sadly, Elizabeth, it's too little too late. You put up a valiant effort. If you remain consistent, if you just decided who you wanted to be earlier on, you might have had a shot. But, you flip-flopping, man. You tried to distance yourself from Medicare for All. You couldn't figure out how to pay for it. You're just all over the place. And maybe next time around, there might not be a next time, but should there be a next time, you'll be more consistent, more transparent from the beginning, because that was an option too. He heard Amy K and came running. She has yet to place higher than third in any state and is not expected to do so in South Carolina this weekend. In critical Super Tuesday states such as California, Texas, she's still polling behind Sanders, Bloomberg, and Joe Biden. In the last week, voters saw her openly embrace a new super PAC supporting her campaign, the kind of big money political organization she has railed against repeatedly since entering the race. They saw her allies begin sending out invitations for high-dollar fundraisers, and they have seen her go after Sanders, a longtime ally, after telling reporters dozens of times over the last year, "I'm not here to attack other Democrats." You know what she did a couple of weeks ago. What was it, 3 debates ago? When she decided to walk over to Bernie Sanders and essentially call him a liar, said that he had told her that a woman couldn't be president. You see, this is what happens when you can't decide which path you want to follow. She tried to serve 2 masters, and it didn't work out for her. So, unfortunately, again, this is going to be the end for Elizabeth Warren. She really brought it in the last debate, but this time, I just feel like she just took a little bit too far. She bullied Mike Bloomberg over pretty much non-substantial things, and we got nothing out of this debate. We saw a bunch of people run around, chasing their tail, insulting each other, and all the while, Donald Trump he's got to be laughing. Like, this has to be the dream scenario for him. Not only is Bernie Sanders going to win, which is an easy victory for him, but he's watching the DNC cannibalize itself. Like, these guys are really going after each other to the point where who wants to identify as a Democrat today? I mean, hell, I never wanted to, but now it's just like, it seems like a scarlet letter. It seems a little bit embarrassing to say that I'm a Democrat, and they're just making it worse. I mean, from the Iowa debacle to this, to potential issues that they had in Las Vegas, where to their whole system of flip a card and that's who gets the delegates. Like, what is this? So happy I didn't want the debate. You ready to see Texas results? Man, I'm ready for this thing to be over. You know what? I feel like they should just do like, sometimes you have a company and you put out a product and it doesn't come out the way you thought it was going to come out. So you say, we're going to release it next year. We're just not even going to bother putting it out right now. that's what the Democrats need to do. They need to just decide, hey, we messed up. We didn't put this thing together right. We're going to try in 2024 because whatever you take into, November, it's just not going to be good. It's not going to be good. We saw all the attacks go against Bernie last night. The down ballot stuff, the he's not electable, the he can't beat Trump, the he's too far left. Which one of those attacks made you feel differently about Bernie Sanders than you felt coming into it? Probably none. So that's all I got for today's video. Like I said, there's a bunch of stuff I could cover on this debate, so stay tuned. I'm sorry this video, I'm not going to edit this. I'm going to leave this at 46 minutes, unfortunately. But or maybe I'll cut it. Now maybe I'll break it in half or something like that. But yeah, I'm embarrassed for the Democratic Party. And if you are a Democrat, it's okay. Just take off the blue cap. Like, no one's going to be mad at you. Like, it's okay to hide yourself. Like, you're allowed to be ashamed because last night the Democrats embarrassed you. So with that said, I'm going to get out of here. I hope you guys have an excellent afternoon. I will see you guys again soon. Peace.